Welcome back to You're Always Fine, a space to show up for yourself and embrace the mess that lives underneath because, let's be real, it's exhausting always being fine. So grab your headphones and allow yourself to listen, laugh, and even cry because you are not alone and we aren't always fine. And that's okay.
I'm your host, Kristine.
And I'm Theresa, so let's freaking get into it.
All right, so TT, we're doing something a little different. I know you love change. And we're going to call this Unpack That. So I went into my therapist bag of tricks.
Oh boy.
And picked out my cards that are like conversation starters. I picked 4 random cards. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to answer.
Oh boy.
And if you are listening out there, if you would like to answer the question as well, you can go ahead and click that text us in the top of your show notes and submit your answer. All right, you're on the hot seat. Let's go. I've got 4 cards spread out on my desk right now. I want you to either like number or...
Number 2.
Okay. What is your, I call them like human superpower? Like just something you're so good at that it should just be considered a superpower.
Oh man, not giving a shit.
Okay, I can buy that. The therapist in me though, unpack
what
that.
else do you want?
I
you don't like that answer?
No, I like that answer, right? But let's unpack that. Not giving a shit. Okay, so when you say not giving a shit, what goes either into not giving a shit, right? Like how do you determine if a shit is given? And do not use me as an example because I know all of my shits are given. I've gotten so much better, but yes.
You have gotten better. I think in order to not give a shit, you have to be confident. And I think that is a strong suit of mine. It's so hard to talk about stuff like that because then people read into it and are like, oh, you're cocky or you're this. And it's like, no. They're 2 very different things.
She's from Philly. Of course she's cocky. With confidence though, and not giving a shit, is there like a layer of authenticity to not like,
Definitely.
Can you be, I guess, inauthentic and not give a shit? Or is that just like not self-aware then?
I mean, I guess you could. I mean, I guess people could use that as a way of like hiding insecurity maybe, but I think that's kind of hard because when you don't give a shit, you basically are like, I am who I am, take it or leave it. If you don't like it, keep it moving. So I think it's kind of hard to be inauthentic that way because not everybody likes that. So like I am well aware that I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Like I'm very aware of that and I'm fine with it.
And you talk with your hands, so that's probably why.
I do, and that drives people insane.
It does drive people nuts. It's so funny.
The amount of comments on social media I get about talking with my hands, it makes me want to do it more.
I was just going to say, that is a lie. The only time that I've ever seen you do it, and I know exactly the type of content I'm getting, is where I feel like you're not in control of your limbs. Like, you're just like, yes, exactly. Purposely flailing. I was like, oh, I for sure know what type of content that is. Like, it could be a series on your TikTok. Okay. When did you start like harnessing, I guess, that superpower of like not giving a shit? And what was the turning point of that? Was it born out of insecurity? Was it born out of acceptance? Was it born out of healing?
To be honest, I don't really know. I actually asked my parents this because, I mean, you know Owen, my son, he is very much that way. I mean, he's 6 and he is just like, he don't care. He is who he is. So I asked my parents that. I was like, was I always like that? Or because Owen has always been that way. And my mom told me that I always was just like that. I marched to the beat of my own drum. I didn't really care what other people thought. So I don't know if part of that is from being from a big family and being towards the bottom and kind of like, you have to be that way. I don't know. I never really got into like girl groups or like any of that like catty type stuff. I was friends with a lot of different groups. So I to be honest, I don't know. I think it's grown as I've gotten older because you learn lessons and you learn how you're perceived. You learn whether things matter to you. The older I get, I think the more not giving of a shit I am because life is short. So,
well, and I think you've like summarized not giving a shit with a bunch of different like things under the Theresa umbrella of not giving a shit. I also feel like there's a component of values, right? I think part of not giving a shit has to be rooted in being authentic and then also true to who you are so that you can not give a shit about the rest of it.
Absolutely.
As it relates to Owen real quick, I find it fascinating. Obviously, I got diagnosed with rare disease later than a whole 21 years like after he did. And he's grown up with this. And I wonder if there is a link, though, between what you go through like that and, again, this very bucket umbrella term of not giving a shit. But because I do believe as I was faced with more challenges, I had to start weaning away the shits I could give or the spoons I could give to outside things.
That's a good point. I mean, he's been through so much.
Which is also why it's heartbreaking whenever I know that he's struggling with being bigger than the rest of the kindergartners but there's also times where like in that school play picture you sent me, I wish that our listeners could see this photo because
it's the best picture ever.
He is like in this like, I don't know, snowman costume. And he just towering over these kindergartners for sure. Looks like a fourth grader in a kindergartner line. And just like the amount of like pride he has in being him in that space.
Yeah.
But we're all human. So there's going to be that flip of it. Right. And I think it's great that you're helping him give a shit about his emotions, if you will. Right. But not give a shit about the outside influences.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it. Just because you're someone that doesn't give a shit, it doesn't mean you don't give a shit about anything. It just means that you know who you are. And I don't give a shit about the outside voices that try and tell me I'm someone I'm not.
So here we are, folks. We have unpacked it. It is while under the umbrella for Theresa, not her superpower is not giving a shit. There is so many layers, self-awareness, values, authenticity. And so that's at the root of those things that you find to be your superpowers, that living in your existence. Living in your existence, like purely in a way that, works for you, fits in your life and, stays.
Yeah. And is authentic.
Yes.
100%.
All right. We're down to 3 cards on my desk. 1, 2, or 3.
1.
You're going to not like me. What are you still trying to prove to yourself?
I feel like I'm in a job interview.
If a job is asking you this on an interview, just walk out. They have zero boundaries and have no reason to be this deep into your mind.
I would say that I can do whatever I put my mind to. Because, my life has shifted in so many different directions and so many different career paths. And each time it does that, it's usually against my will. It's usually not part of my plan. So I sit with that and then try and tell myself okay, this isn't what you planned, but you can do it. So I think I'm always trying to prove. And I also think sometimes I'm doing really well in the social media space right now, but at the end of this month, I'm like, I can do better next month. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's just a constant drive for wanting to be better in the space I'm in. I don't know. But I think just prove that I can do it, that I can hit whatever curveball is thrown my way. I would say it that way.
All right. Are you ready? Let's unpack that.
Okay.
So I heard a lot right there. And one of the things I heard, though, is I am still trying to prove to myself that even without my career, I'm worthy of maybe recognition. I'm worthy of validation, even if this isn't, as prestigious or using my degree.
Yeah, I would say that makes sense.
You can push back. I'm no expert.
No, it does.
In your life, at least.
It is hard to go. It's interesting because the way people perceive social media and stuff, a lot of people perceive it as not a lot of work, easy, which cracks me up because I'm like, well, if that was the case, then why aren't you doing it?
I will not lie. I think social media, much like anything, right? You can't just put something up and expect it to do well, right? There's so many components that go into a good post, consistent posting, and I think of when I first, started my business and stuff, I really think I had this delusional idea that if you put it on the internet, they will come like the Messiah.
Yeah.
Not true.
No. So, when you go from a career like I had, it is hard to, I went from a career of saving people's lives and getting called in the middle of the night when they're having a heart attack and being the one that helps with the team to save them, to doing funny stuff on social media or sharing my health journey or stuff like that. So they're very different things. And to me, it's very difficult sometimes to know that I came from this all the way up here and making such an impact on people to like doing something like this. And it's hard to sometimes see the same impact. I know that I'm generating that impact, especially on the social media side of sharing about Owen and connecting with other families. So I know in that regard, but it doesn't read the same as the job that I was doing before.
A little bit sounds like I'm still proving to myself that I'm enough. I'm enough as a mother.
Yeah.
I'm enough as a mother who's not going to have a big family, right? Like I'm enough as a wife. I'm enough as a person who...
I don't know. I was so proud to be like, I'm a cardiovascular specialist. I loved saying it. I loved what I did. When people ask what I do now, I'm like, I do social media.
Well, like even the way you just said it, but like just the way you said it, right? I think there's a shame aspect to it, right? And also, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get embarrassed before I even get to the part where I'm like, oh yeah, I have a decent platform, I share about this, whatever have you. Yeah. It's just like, oh God, my first biggest fear is someone I know will see it. And then I've got to listen to that.
Happens
like
to me.
I'm okay with every troll on the internet. What I'm not okay with is the phone call that comes like, so you decided to share that in that way, or...
Oh, there's so many people now that see all my stuff that know me in real life. But I'm glad that I don't give a shit, because that is what would make it really hard. I am the same way. I will say I'm the same way I am on social media as I am in person. And you know that, you know me both social media and in person. Yeah. So like, I will say, I think that I am the same way, but it just doesn't, to me, like what I do now doesn't carry nearly as much significant weight as what I did however many years ago. 5 years ago, I guess.
Okay. So,
and that boils back to it not being my choice, right? In the beginning of me starting my social media stuff, that was my choice. I still have my career, right? It never was supposed to be a full-time thing for me, ever. I never thought it would get like this. I never thought it would throw me into so many different spaces. I just never imagined it. I never imagined I would make money from it. And it just, so it's a blessing. I'm grateful because I'm not able to do my job before, but it was not a choice of mine.
So I also I'm still trying to prove to myself like that I can hit the curveball, that I can be resilient. And
yeah,
last little note on this is don't mistake your feelings or your lack of being able to control a shitty situation for your competency with it, right? Don't mix your feelings and the facts on that, right? Because you're allowed to have your feelings about it not being in your control. And you're allowed to, just because you have feelings about the situation every time does not mean, right, that it equates to, oh, you're not moving forward from it, or you're not.
Right.
So that will be my last little bit on that.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is my first, for people that don't know, ever therapy session. I've never even been in therapy. So.
Oh my Jesus, how are we 20 episodes in and I've never known this about you? Better yet,
never.
Oh my gosh, like now looking back.
Are you surprised?
No, not even a little bit, but I just feel like I'm thinking of our journey. It's like a flash, in the Barbie movie where she like has her whole life flash before her kind of thing.
Well, I also didn't see the Barbie movie, so.
Okay, I can't lie. I just watched the first, no, I watched it on a plane. Okay, nope. I'm not lying.
You would be shocked if I was like, Kristine, I just watched the
Barbie movie. I'd be like, so which one of your, you either lost a bet or one of your sons likes a girl and that's why or something.
Yeah. No.
Rolodex of our friendship is happening in my head right now. That was the whole point. And I was just like, oh my God, like 1, I'm a therapist. 2, she's 100% right. Like, I'm not surprised. And
3, in your head, you're like, this chick needs to go see someone.
Yeah, I was just like, wait a second.
How do I say this nicely?
No, not even nicely. I'd be like, oh, I know I was crazy when we worked together back then before I really tried to figure some stuff out for myself. But damn, it takes 2. I'm kidding.
It does. Well, now it's your turn. Now I'm switching it. I'm out of the hot seat. I'm not doing it no more.
Here is Unpacked Kristine's version. She's been in therapy
Kristine's
since
version,
16.
and she doesn't have a therapist on the other end. She doesn't have a therapist on the other end, and she doesn't have a therapist on the other end. She has just me. So we're
who has
with it.
Always been someone who calls me right out and makes me feel real comfortable.
All right. I got 2 questions for you. So pick 1 or 2.
Odd numbers. So we'll go 1, get it over with.
Do you think you are misunderstood?
Oh, God, yes. I think I've been misunderstood my entire life, which is why I think the catalyst for anything that in my life now that is peace, contentment, and balance was chaos in terms of like my rare disease. Because it finally gave me that rare label was so incredibly healing for me to be able to not silo it. Like you're too sensitive, you're too loud, you're too this, your kindness is fake. For so long, it was so important to me that I came off genuine, that you knew I was genuine, that everything that I value, you knew about me. And I think my biggest growth moment has been that it does not matter how people choose to perceive you. That's a them thing, not a you thing.
Yes.
So let them, right? Let them be wrong about your skills. Let them be wrong about your struggles. Let them be wrong about your kindness. As long as I like stick to who I am and I know that I put my head on the pillow knowing I did the best I could with what I had at the time, I'm okay with being misunderstood now. And I think it's more of something that I wear as like a badge of honor.
You know, that's what I hear.
You know what?
What I hear there.
See, anybody, it's really true. Anyone can be a therapist, guys.
What I hear there is that you are starting to cross over the bridge and enter into not giving a shit land.
I would love you as my therapist. You want to know why? Because everything would come down to, you know how like some therapists will go like meditation, or like breathe, like all these like kind of like catchphrase like therapist thing. How does that make you feel? Yours 1000% would be like the world of not giving a shit and all of its like substreets and everything. I love this for you because when we were talking about this and that question, I was like, this little shit is going to get away with everything falling under not giving a shit. Because I was like ready to push back on you hard. And here you are in my question, bringing it back. And I'm like, shit, that's, yes, essentially, right? At the most condensed form, we're
having a full circle moment.
A full circle moment of all the self-help books you read, people, you need none of them.
But okay, do you think you got to that? Like, do you think you would have gotten to the moment of really just accepting who you are and not really allowing people to have their perceptions? Would you have gotten there without your rare disease? Or do you think that is what propelled you to get there and why?
Absolutely not. I really do believe that my rare disease was the key factor. I think there's moments in your life that honestly like change and put you like on the right course, right? Or
definitely.
And sometimes they're really small and they're very reversible, right? It's not always a death or this. And for me, it was the decision to not go to PA school and to pursue social work, a field I knew nothing about, coming from a family who for sure did not believe in depression or any mental health. That was just not.
Yeah, that was the time too.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So that is like one small moment, right? That I think put me on this path of realizing one, just how scary it is in my own brain. And it was not a therapist or whatever. It was the easiest way, in my opinion, right? When you're passively consuming information for another reason, right? So I was in school trying to get this degree. It was enough degrees away where I'm like, oh my gosh, we have an enmeshed family. Oh my gosh. Like not every single thing, but enough things started to open up the doors. So that was the first one. I think the next moment I would call out in this whole journey would be choosing to marry Carrie. Unfortunately, I don't believe that would have been enough though. I think it would have put me in the space of breaking the quote unquote rules or, living more authentically. But I think there would have been so much shame and lack of that acceptance. So it's like awareness and acceptance and then the tools and stuff. Just deciding to marry Carrie while an act of rebellion in my Catholic Republican family and, to what my internal structures and narrative were, it wouldn't have been enough. I think I would have lived just under the radar, if that makes sense. Like, as opposed to stepping into my power, I think I would have shrunk myself. And so I think while I think would have been very happy within my marriage, it would have been a very closed space. So without a doubt, I don't see how I get here without being sick. And in true Kristine fashion, I like to control everything and whatever. And I feel like the universe sometimes puts things in your way or gives you something because you're not going where you're supposed to go, right? Like, it's like, well, if you're clearly not getting the message, so here we are, we're going to literally make it so that your body stops, or make it that, we're going to get this message to you. And so, yeah, that's my unpacked misunderstood, which would have been very different if you probably asked me maybe a year and a half ago.
Well, I think that also segues us a little bit to my next question, because I know with being misunderstood, it depends on how someone misunderstands you, but there can be a lot of hurt there depending on how people perceive you, misunderstand you. So do you, with your experiences of feeling misunderstood and all of that, do you consider anything absolutely unforgivable?
The rigid part of me, the part that lives by rules, right? Lives by rules so you don't get hurt, lives by rules because you don't know how to make healthy boundaries, cuts yourself out. I mean, you know how I just retreat and stuff. And so I think for so long, the unforgivable thing really had to do with like loyalty and you know what I mean? All these things internally that, yes, they mean so much to me, right? But you can't expect yourself and every single other person. You can't expect people to mind read. And I have become a better communicator about certain things. I'm a great communicator if everything is in the land of you, in terms of like, I will give to you, I will pour to you, I will listen to you. And I will even listen to your complaints and I will try to fix, that type of stuff. But when it comes, I have an issue with you, or I bring something up and I feel misunderstood, immediate anxiety comes like rushing in, and therefore I just want to retreat. Like, nope, let's just stop the conversation because I don't know how to get this out. And all of this is a long way to say that I think where I stand on unforgivable is you never know what you're going to decide when your back's against the wall. You never know what you're going to do with the cards you're given in that very moment with what you know at that very moment, right? Not a future version of you or a past version of you, just that very moment. But I think when it comes to unforgivable, because of that confrontation stuff and how much I hated it, I gave forgiveness for every single thing.
Yeah.
So easily. And now I think that I don't believe anything is unforgivable. I think it's the relationship really matters, right? And I think forgiveness is something I do for you, and I care less about that. So no, nothing is not forgivable because I have been working on channeling my energy internally. So what do I need to forgive myself for, right? So what do I need to also do to respond appropriately and either let go or work through?
But do you think that in situations, because what I hear there
is
that something might be done to you that's possibly unforgivable, and you're looking at how you can respond in an approach. Do you think that like there's instances where you should not have to check yourself and you should be able to respond how you feel?
So when I say check myself, I mean it not so much like in terms of appropriate or for the other person, but more so how will my response put me forward vulnerably? Or like, because I know about myself that I'm too forgiving. I know that like, if you have done something that really hurt me, or you ghosted me, or for instance, if you reach out to me and maybe you haven't done right, maybe, you ghosted, maybe you didn't show up when I needed you to around something. And then you come into my life, right? And you know this, you yell at me all the time. I have a tendency, right, of just to like accept whatever that is and accept that low bar. And so now what I found is, forgiveness is for you. You need me to forgive you so that you feel better, right? But what do I need for me to let go of it so I'm not carrying it? And how do I safeguard myself? So recently, my mom and my sister went to a baby shower, and there were people there that we were very close to at one point. And then we had our first hiccup when I got in, and like a lot of feeling like they were entitled to information and just kind of like treating me really poorly. And I forgave that, right? When they came around, I forgave that. And then my sister got married in 2020 with the pandemic. Her wedding got canceled, and she really cut all of her wedding stuff, like slimmed it out. And they were very hurt about being part of that slimmed out thing. But it was really just whatever. Despite that having nothing to do with me, right? Like that has nothing to do with me. They like stopped talking to me because of a choice my sister made the point being, they went there, and my mom and my sister are very good about, like, they can say, like, hi and be cordial and truly, and that be it. But if they said hi to me, I feel like I would have then been like, how are you? Is I would have like extended that. And I think that would have left me in a vulnerable place.
Definitely.
And not that I don't want to forgive, but like me not going to that shower saved me that energy in the future, or saved me that negative residual thing of cleaning, up or extending forgiveness.
So you can forgive. Yeah, you can forgive, but be smart about it.
Exactly. And it sounds weird, but I genuinely believe forgiveness, right, is for you, right? Or it's for me, because if we're working through it together, right, I don't think then that's an unforgivable situation. I can honestly say there's nothing that Carrie can do. And me and my mom have had like hour-long talks on like nothing she can do that I can truly believe is unforgivable. As long as we come to the table, as long as we show up for each other. And she's like, even if you cheat, even if she cheats. And I was just like, yeah, I think that I'd want to first dissect, what got her to that point. Did I miss, like, were you trying to get my attention? I think we use cheating as like, oh my God, the ultimate sin, or abortions, or this, or, like we use these things as like, oh my God, like we're going to chastise people. But, again, I think when your back's against the wall, you do the best you can with your emotional, I don't know. And so, yeah, obviously I have a complicated relationship with forgiveness. That's what
I'm glad I'm not the only one that got complicated today.
Man, and when you first said it, I was like, oh, I've got a great answer to this. And, 3 minutes into this answer, I'm like, I don't even know what I said.
You got flustered.
I feel, I got to bring that back to the journal. All right, TT. We've got 2 questions left. How about this? Ready? You'll pick one and then we'll answer the last one together.
Okay. 2.
In what ways have you changed in this recent era of your life that you do not like?
It's a little bit harder for me to be satisfied in terms of what I accomplish. And I think that stems back to what we talked about my career change and stuff like that. I don't like that I'm constantly feeling like I need to do more. I felt way more satisfied in my prior career than I do in this one. And I don't know why, but I think I don't really like that because I'm also someone that really likes to chill and to relax. I think because social media can be whenever you want to do it, you're always feeling like, well, I could be making content right now and I could be changing my course of like where I'm going. But because I'm taking time and relaxing, I'm missing out on that. Whereas like when you have a standard job like I had before, it was like, okay, clock in, clock out.
Unless for me.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I don't like that about myself, is that it's harder for me to relax because I feel like I'm not being lazy, but I'm not taking every opportunity. And with social media and stuff like that, it's like every opportunity is 24 hours a day. And that's just sustainable.
It's really interesting that you say that because back in, oh my God, it's crazy that it's been 2 years, May of 22, you came to me after 2 years of working together and you were just like, I don't want you to hate me, but I need to step away because I'm not present for you and Rare and where we want to build, and I'm not present for my family. And I don't like that about myself, right? I don't like this place that I'm in. And, I think I think the internet wanted some like villainous like story line.
Did.
But I think in general, again, like there was you approaching me and wanting out, like to me, that was like a great strength and a bravery, and to also do it in a way, in my opinion, that was honest and vulnerable and not just like ghosting or you didn't just acknowledge, I guess also you acknowledged, I think, that you weren't being present anywhere, right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
And so I'm bringing this up because when you said that, it sounded a little bit like this identity, like this figuring it out is like taking you away from the present. Or I think that's always been your problem with socials, blog
it's
writing.
hard because everything's right at your fingertips. And so, you could be missing out on something by not responding to a comment or whatever. And it's like, it's easier to balance because both the kids are in school, but they're about to be home for the summer. And in my kids' minds, you're accessible because you're home. Like if you're at an actual
in your
job,
kids' mind, screw that. In my wife's mind, I hate school breaks now that I'm not working in the school, because when she has off, she genuinely just has no comprehension of like work, being quiet, you can record anything.
Yeah, Mike's the same way. It's like, well, you're here. I'm like, well, I work here. So yeah, I think it's hard. And I think this summer is going to be, you know, a balancing act for me, but I'm going to do it because that's how I've always been. I figure it out, but I want to be able to be like, no, I can put my phone down at work all the time because I don't need to.
It's interesting. I swear to you, I randomly picked these questions. So I think it's so funny, the therapeutic process, or when you start to unpack things, you see all these links, right? What seemingly seems far apart are all these links. Because we talked in the beginning about that enoughness, right? Feeling enough, feeling content, that state of peace. It's crazy. We're all upset about control, but that state of peace is something we can give ourselves.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of mental work that has to go into it, right? And you're not going to like me saying this, but of course you'll always figure it out. Like, of course you're always fine. Those are different than process your emotions. I feel like since I've known you, I've been like, stop minimizing your emotions every single time you approach them, especially around your career, I think, right? When you go out with friends and you feel sad, like you're like, I feel guilty that I feel sad. So many like beliefs and judgments on your own feelings. Don't worry, folks. She's also probably judging you on your feelings, but but not harsher than she's judging herself on her feelings.
I will say I am rough on myself in that department, but I think because I know I'm rough on myself in that department, I make a conscious effort with the boys, especially because they're boys. And, you know, there's this like narrative like, oh, boys don't cry. They do. So I try and make a really strong effort with them to let them know that it's okay to feel how they feel. It's okay to be angry. Obviously, when you're angry, you got to like curb that and not like act out on it. I tell Owen that all the time. But I know that I lack in that area for myself. So with the boys, I try and really give them that space.
And you know what? I was gonna go deeper into the like how it's crazy, right? One, parents are just humans, and most of the time, mom's trauma, dad's trauma, all of their values and everything growing up, and then you get there and you're like, what am I not gonna do to you that was done to me? What am I gonna do extra of for you, right? And it's like you have to balancing that all out. I always feel that parents don't do this enough because our focus is always on the kids. But the best thing you can do is figure out yourself, know what those emotions are, what they're signaling for you, and process that on your own so that you're not putting that on your kids. But thank you for coming to my TED Talk. All right. I think this is a good last question. Before I give you the question, though, give me the age when growing up that you felt most vulnerable.
I would say maybe like 7.
Okay.
I would say 7. And the only reason why that sticks in my mind is because I got a really bad haircut from my sister when I was 7.
7? How old? Like you're second grade, right?
You are like first or second.
When I was in the first grade, I got a really freaking bad haircut from, we called her, I don't know, Mima, Tilly. I don't know what the hell her name was. I can't remember which one was her name and which one was my grandpa's second wife. Anyway, she wanted to be a hairdresser, and my mom thought it was a great idea to give her my hair. I just feel like we like unlocked something though, TT. Both of us have really, really, really long hair that we don't let anyone touch. And I don't know, I feel like we're having a very shared experience here, but go ahead. Tell me about this haircut. I did not mean to
that's why I feel like I was the most vulnerable because, and I don't know, maybe that's where I had to like buck up my confidence because I had this long, beautiful hair and she cut it up to my eyeballs. Like I had a bowl cut.
I just can't believe you had a bowl cut. Okay, just so you know, what we're going to do in this episode.
We're going to find a picture.
I'm going to find a picture. You're going to find a picture. We're doing side by side. I kid you not.
Horrible.
Bowl cut. It was just like, and I'm laughing because both of us are so crazy about not cutting our hair as adults. And again, another one of those moments where you can spend so much time with someone and all this, right? But like, not know these things. We've always known we connected and stuff, but like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, chopped it all off and I got made fun of so bad. I was called a boy. And then on top of that, I had a horrible, like, instead of a rolly school bag, because they were in, my grandma got me a rolly suitcase, but I was like, whatever, I'll use it. So I got made fun of that. I got made fun of my hair.
Okay, well, are you ready for the question?
What?
I know you thought that was the question, but I'm gonna, if you could go back and tell that 7-year-old girl something, what would you tell her to get through to her?
That hair grows back and that if someone is making fun of you, it's only a reflection of themselves. Because I don't think kids realize that. I mean, I realize that obviously as an adult, because if you internally feel the need to be mean to someone else, you're lacking something. Something's missing within you, or you've got some scars there or whatever. Because, you know, we all make mistakes and we all may do things that aren't nice, but actually making fun of someone takes a conscious effort to be like malicious. And I think that if you're like, I could never purposely be malicious to someone. Like it would not, like I wouldn't do it out of intention. And I think when people do that, it's because they have some deep wound. But kids don't understand that. And so I would tell myself as a kid, like, if they're making fun of you, it's a reflection of themselves.
I really love that because I'm sure my mom said that my whole life, but I was 26 when my mom said to me, you know, what people say about you is none of your business. And I was like really taken back by that. But essentially, I feel like that it was the way that it clicked for me, that what you're just saying, right? Like it's not about you, right? And it's none of your business to know someone's opinion about you, because most likely if it's an opinion that's behind your back or it's an opinion that's nasty and mean, it has nothing to do with you, and for sure has nothing to do with that person wanting your best interest or wanting your growth, right? Because then they come to you. That's feedback, right? And you don't have to take everybody's feedback. Depends on who's it coming from, all that good stuff. But I love that.
Okay, so that is all for my first and last therapy session. We did it for everyone else to experience, but I think that is enough for me today.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Tell us what you thought about this type of Unpack episode. Do you want to see more of it? Would you like to have it released as bonuses? Because I think it could be super helpful. You can submit your questions. We can answer them along with you. Well, I think it could be a new segment, TT.
I think so too. I think it's fun. It's unexpected. And I think it's real, raw, and rare.
Until next time, you're always fine.
Seriously, you're fine. You're fine because you have the power to access your place of peace anytime you need it. However, if you get stuck, we're right at the palm of your hand to help. Check out our show notes for this week's source list, recommended content, and Cabana live group schedule. We'll catch you next week for a brand new episode of You're Always Fine.
The team at Cabana has found your reset button. The answer? Cabana Pods, acoustic soundproof booths with immersive micro vacations proven to boost your mood in just 5 minutes. To learn more about Cabana Pods, visit www.evenhealth.com/pods.